Hi friends, Right Careers welcomes you to another brand new video for this week. This is Sudarshan, your career coach. Before we dwell into this week's topic, the customary thing, in case you have subscribed to my channel, thank you so much. And in case you haven't, do click on the subscription button by logging into www.youtube.com/rightcareers and also click on the bell button for all instant notifications of all the videos. Right, moving on to this week's topic, this is in continuation to what we saw last week. Last week we happened to see why USA. That was the topic that we have taken for for the week this week and also for the week to come. So last week we saw under this topic we saw what are the factors that determine students to choose US as a higher education destination. Why choose students prefer US is something which we saw last week. We also saw about the intakes. When do students actually when do US universities start taking applications, etc. When does the classes begin, etc. That we saw. And we also saw about the basic entrance examinations that are required, like the GRE, GMAT, both generic as well as the score specific entrance examinations like IELTS, TOEFL like generic, and exams like GRE, GMAT or SAT for specific courses. This is what we saw last week. In continuation with that we are going to see something which is very important if you are a student. From a student's perspective, this episode is really important, I would say. Now let us move on to this week's subject. So this week what we are going to see is what are the application process that is there when you have to apply as a student for various universities in the US. That is something which we will see. We will also see what are the documents that are required if you are a student, if you have to apply for universities in US. And we will also see about when do you have to start applying for universities in US. So this is what we'll be seeing broadly in this episode. The first thing is, before we see as to what are the process of application, you need to understand one thing. It is not that as a student you have to be good only at academics for getting into a good university in US. No, there are a lot of factors other than academics that determine admission to various universities in US, especially for international students. Like we all have characteristics, like you are a submissive person or you are a assertive person. Like the way humans have character, every universities in US have a character. So what those universities try to do is they try to match its character, the university's character, with that of a student who is planning to come and study in that university. So it tries to match. At times it takes direct match, at times it takes the opposite match. Confused? Watch out for this week's video so that the next 10 minutes we will discuss about what are those characters, how you can get into US universities with relatively easier mode. So that's what we're going to see now. Before that, how to apply. Now in India, I'm sure you must have applied, either if you're a grade 12 student or if you're a pre-final year student, you must have applied to multiple universities after seeing the advertisements in newspapers, or maybe go to a website, go to the direct website of the respective university or college and then apply, or maybe apply via counseling. If you are a student from engineering background, you would have applied via the counseling or taken JEE, something like that, right? So that is the traditional way of applying in India. Out there in US, it's very different. There are three ways that as a student you can apply to universities in US. The first way is called as common application process. The second way is called as coalition application process. And then the third way is called as a direct application. So now what we will see is, we are going to see all those three in detail so that it's easy for you to understand as a student. The first way is called as common application process, or rather it's called as CAP. Now this common application process is a very old system that's been there in US, and it's a very traditional way. It's the oldest form of way that's there in US. It's popularly known as Common App. Common, even though it's called as common application process, it's called as Common App. You can visit the website of Common App by clicking on to the website. It's www.commanapp.org. Now if you visit this website, you will understand that over 520 universities in US, 520 universities in US accept applications via this app. So if you go visit this website, you can apply to 520 universities, and it is used by over 8 lakh students every year. That means it's the biggest platform for application to multiple universities. Now the greatest advantage that this app or this website has is, at one click you can apply up to 20 universities, which means you click once, you want to apply, you can choose which universities or which course you want to apply, and then at one click you can apply up to 20 universities. Now, how does this happen? You have to first create your profile in the website. Now, upon creating a profile, you may choose to apply for the college or course that you wish to, choose. The application form is available for not only for the first year students, pre-final year or 12th standard students, but also for students who wish to transfer, from one university other to other during the mid-year. For example, you study in one university in first year. For various reasons, you want to shift to another university, which is possible in US. You can still use this app, and then mid-university transfer, that's called. Mid-university transfer is also accepted via Common App. The biggest advantage of Common App, if you ask me, is it saves a lot of time, because in one click, you apply to 20 universities. So that's the first way where you can apply as a student. The second way of application is called as coalition application form. This is once again called as CAP. The website for coalition application process is www.mycoalition.org. It's mycoalition.org. So this is relatively a new platform which was established in 2016. Unlike Common App, this is a relatively new platform where again you can apply to multiple universities. However, the number of universities that accepts is relatively low. For example, there we saw over 500 universities, 520 universities accept applications. Here there are roughly around 150 universities that apply, that accepts application. But there are some uniqueness in this, My Coalition process, where it was created to bridge the gap between students who are economically weaker or underprivileged, so that they can look out for scholarships and funding. So for this purpose, Coalition app is very, very useful. It has a Digi Locker for a student. If you're applying via Coalition app, you have a Digi Locker where you can save all your certificates and other things in Digi Locker. It also has a facility like online counseling, where you can get counseled as a student by professional counselors online. Some universities like University of Florida or University of Washington, Seattle campus, University of Maryland. So these universities accept applications exclusively via Coalition app, which means as a student, if you want to apply for these universities, you got to compulsorily go via this app particularly. So that's the second model. The third model is the traditional or a typical model where you can apply directly to universities. You can go to the website, create your profile, and then apply. Some universities do encourage applying directly as well. Example, Penn State University. If you want to apply for Penn State University, you can apply to them directly. So there are many universities where, some universities, not many, which accepts direct application also. So these are broadly the three types of application process which you can do as a student. Now, moving on, when to apply. Now, it's very important that you need to know when should you start applying to these universities. In India, once again, if you compare, I know most of the students start thinking about the college after finishing their grade 12 or after finishing their undergraduation, right? That's how it happens in India. But in US, if you do that, you will end up missing more than a year. Yes, which means ideally you should start applying 1 to 1.5 years before your actual course starts. We saw last week, when does the course start? So spring starts in August. If you want to start in August, you have to start applying the year before, of April or May. For example, for 2023, if you want to study, I don't think you can do it right now because you must have missed the bus if you want to apply for good universities. For 2024, ideally you have to start thinking now. By Jan, Feb, you can start looking at applications. By March, if you can do, then because the process is such that it takes a long time. If you are planning to study undergraduation, ideally mid of 11th standard, you should start applying. If you are planning to study post-graduation, a pre-final year or late in your second year or the year before, you should start applying. So, the earlier you apply, the better it is, right? Now, moving on, another important topic, application documents. So what are the documents that are required, for you if you have to choose to study in US? Definitely application form. We saw where you get application form, the three ways: CAP, common application form, coalition application form, and then directly. So that's first. And then application documents. Documents includes your mark sheets, your transfer certificates, etc., etc. That's very important. And then your test scores. We saw your generic test scores like IELTS, TOEFL, and then your the course specific test scores like GRE, GMAT, or SAT, whatever it is, that's required. But the last two is very, very important. The last two, the first one is letter of recommendation. We call it as LOR, and then SOP, statement of purpose. We will see in short about what is LOR and SOP. So LOR, letter of recommendation, is one of the most important document, I would say. It is required for students who are applying at all levels. You might apply for UG, you might apply for your PG, but letter of recommendation is a must. And it is also a very important document for a college or university to understand about you academically, right? How does this work? All you have to do is you have to, give your email ID of minimum 2 to 3 teachers or professors that you know. A good university in US will require at least 2 to 3 recommendations, either from teachers or from professors or even from counselors it accepts. You have to give them an email, their email to them, the university. The university will in turn send an automated mail to the teachers to understand about your academic records and how you are as a student in the classes. So this is something which a university admissions, office will really find out in terms of your academic character, etc. So that's very important document, LORB called. The next important document is SOPs. I'm sure some of you would have heard about this term SOPs. It's the most important topic, or rather the document that's required for any universities. In the beginning of this video, we saw some of the universities match their characteristics with yours, and this is how they do through SOPs. I'm going to do a separate video on SOP at some point in time, but for now we will see what SOP is. As the name itself suggests, it indicates you, what is the purpose of your study in US. I mean, what do you want to do, who you are, what do you bring to the table if you go to that university, etc., etc. So that is what SOP is all about. SOP is an important document because it understands you. The university will understand your character, your lifestyle, your walks of life, everything. I mean, even these days people do a video SOP also, right? So that's how it's moved on. So that's precisely what I thought I should be discussing this week. I know it's a heavy week because it has a lot of technical contents. So next week we will be seeing what are the types of universities in US, public university, private universities, and then we'll also touch upon Ivy League universities, a little bit about Ivy League, and then we'll look at the tuition fee, scholarships, etc., etc., and then we'll wind up the entire video for the year. So until next week, from all of us here at Right Careers, we wish you all a Merry Christmas and have a safe week and enjoy your Christmas. And until next, Monday with another brand new video. See you all. Take care and do subscribe. Once again, do pass your comments in the subscription button. Thank you. Stay safe. Great year. Thank you.